I'd like to ask you both your thoughts about the future landscape post-COVID and also after the recent international uprisings against systemic injustices and racism. 2020 has been a major year and it calls for major change going forward. Samina, you have 20 years experience within the public and cultural sectors, driving and facilitating cultural projects that affect social change and engage underrepresented communities. What are your thoughts on how the future landscape of public art might look like? And what will be the key challenges and the key needs going forward?
I don't think there's anybody in the arts sector that isn't concerned for the future. We've seen an enormous shutdown. We've seen how certainly the performing arts in particular is impacted by COVID and social distancing. The challenge is that things cannot simply go dark and then reignite at a moment's notice. And the impact of this will absolutely be felt for years to come. I think COVID will also impact on how we address movements such as Black Lives Matter. I think that it's certainly magnified things some of us already knew. I'm surprised that people expressed any kind of surprise at the protests, at the uprisings around Black Lives Matter. And I wonder if that's because people are quite comfortable in the pattern of the arts sectors and don't really want to see enormous change. I was talking to a colleague that is co-director of Hybrid, and we were talking about, well, what do we do? What do we change? And what we realized was that actually our work has been about values-driven work that has consistently sought to affect change in this area. This is not new for us. It's not a shift. It's been a continuous pattern in our work. I think, however, that the creative sector will address it in two primary ways. First of all, regression, that because of the shrinking funding available, that many organisations will go back, probably even further back than they were. There's already evidence of that about who is being made redundant, about representation within organisations. We're already seeing the impact. The other pathway, however, may be that more people take notice and explore ways to repair and look at the institutionalization of racism and how systemic it is. And in doing so, there is hope that they will begin to change and that we will see the change in the artists who are appointed, in the curators, in the producers, in the work that we see and in the culture that we have access to. So we need to be part of that take notice pathway and do whatever we can to support it as much as we can.
Thank you. And Charlie, what are your thoughts on how curators can take up that role and should respond to the recent calls and need for change?
One of the good things about the creative industries are they are exactly that, they are creative. So in terms of problem solving and having to overcome issues is something that a lot of people in this industry have been doing from the outsets of their careers. So I think in terms of hopefulness, post-COVID, I think there is hope. I think there is always people finding creative solutions. In terms of making sure that we are responding to these movements and these moments and making the creative industries more accessible, more open, more representative of what's happening in the UK and the world globally, it's massively key. I think there's something that can be a little bit sort of, you know, that phrase white male and stale about certain creative industry sectors, and it's important that gets shaken up. I think this is a really exciting moment where organisations are sort of being held accountable and we're having to really openly respond and have an opinion and be seen to be proactive. There's no more kind of going, yeah, it's on our agenda. It's no, that agenda is now.